Let me also bring in our Professor Swaran Singh. Sir, your take, immigration aside, and we will come to that. That is certainly a glaring aspect that is possibly led to part of this demonstration because resources are split. It's being sucked out by the influx of immigrants from all over. This is France's doing. They allowed it, and now they're bearing the brunt of it. They don't like it. But what about Nepal? If you compare this directly with Nepal, we're looking at a youth uprising there. Immigration is not really a real crisis there. But it seems like the youth has still come together, successfully toppled the government. And drawing inspiration, we're looking at France now, ongoing protests, but it seems like they're emboldened with agitation like this happening in countries like Nepal. I'm sure protesters in France feel a lot more emboldened. Block everything protests, all mix, right wing, left wing, all mobilized through social media platforms.
Let me first underline some of the similarities that appear in these widespread nationwide protests both in Nepal and in France. The first significant difference to note is de-ideologization. Ideologies are not the only anchor. Practicality, pragmatism is the anchor now. They have shared grievances, and therefore, for example, what began in Nepal as a Generation Z movement was immediately joined by Rashtriya Swatantra Party. Mayor of Kathmandu backed them. So many other people also started backing them immediately. They didn't take any time. Similarly, in France, what is supposed to be block everything movement, which is believed to be basically a right-wing movement of students, teachers, and workers, today has everybody on board, and that I think is important to underline. Second thing important to underline is these are both cases of political instability and economic deceleration. Both of them are similar. France's debt is crossed 110% of GDP. Last 5 years, the deceleration is strong. And that is partly, as you mentioned, the prime ministers keep changing. They had snap elections. Even snap elections did not give anybody clear majority. I mean, we still have major divisions. For example, the largest group of parties is called the Popular Front, has just 182 seats out of 577. Next largest is Ensemble with 168. So there is no clear mandate as to who should rule. Same is true in case of Nepal also. Largest party has about 88 seats in Nepal. And in that sense, that political instability also pushes these various political parties away from ideology into what we call marriage of convenience. So they invariably wish to stay on and not go back to elections again and again, and want to somehow manage some kind of equations and coordinations, which fundamentally means the long-term projects cannot be either conceived or operationalized in that sense. And that creates a gradual progression of popular simmering grievances. Now add this social media connection of real-time explosive speed of information disseminating or disinformation disseminating, which explodes and states one after another. France is a developed country, Nepal is a developing country, but both cases, neither military nor police is able to guarantee that law and order will be maintained and these challenges could be put under control immediately. No, they continue to kind of unfold. Now, let me also address this question of whether Macron is going to go very quickly in 30 seconds. I think there is no direct threat as far as term of President Emmanuel Macron is concerned. The
Threat,
1958
if this is
Constitution,
not, then
Article
what is?
6.
We are
Article
looking at
6
banners
gives him a
asking for
guaranteed
Macron to go with
current.
his name on it. In front of the Prime Minister's house, we just
I know
showed some visuals of
makes
people protesting
makes no
outside his home.
give. Let me just add in 10-15 seconds. It would require both Senate and the National Assembly to sit together with a two-thirds vote. Imagine 577 members of National Assembly, 348 members of the Senate will have to come together. There is no unity anywhere. I can't imagine all of them sitting together with two-third majority and asking for impeachment, and then Macron will have to go. what we will see is the constant shuffling of prime ministers, and if push comes to shove, another snap elections, which would further push both to the unrest, dissatisfaction, and deceleration. So there is no quick solutions. The changes, the transformative force of social media today
Yeah.
is very, very unlike anything earlier. So national leaders are often seen not in grip or not in know of what is happening on the ground. So it is either ignorance or arrogance of politicians that is creating this situation, replicating in Sri Lanka, in Bangladesh, in Nepal, in France, everywhere. There is an unusual problem the political elite is facing, and I think they need to think seriously about it.
You know, from what I understand here, there should be a limit and a timeline possibly to a government being in power. You know, that anti-incumbency in a way, this is a classic example of what happens when people are frustrated with the current regime, when they're in power for a little too long. How long has Macron been in power, sir, if you can fill me in on that? Ambassador Vora, would you?
7-year term.
Okay, so he's been there, he's been on for 7 years. 7 years is
One
not all
term
that.
for the French president is 7 years.
Oh, one term for the French president is 7 years. And Macron's government has been in power for?
That professor will tell you. He'll calculate better than I can.
Till 28, he is going to be president till 28.
Okay, he's going to be president till 28. We'll get that fact checked on the years that he's already spent. Patikrit, would you want to jump in on that? The French president looking at a revolt, but not big enough to push him out of power. That's what Professor says. But from what I see here, we're looking at an uprising of another kind. What we see in Nepal, we showed you comparison visuals of Nepal and France. It's happening currently as I speak. Both countries, we're seeing mobilization that's happened on social media, largely the youth driving the protest, leaderless, without an actual leader. It's just, you know, all sorts of issues, you know, clubbed together, coming out in protest against the government. We just don't want the government at all. Not even a correction in policies.
Just quickly to
That's a
correct
perfect-
myself, it's a
that's a-
5-year term ending in 2027.
Okay. All right. No, I just,
This is his second
I
term.
wanted to know, and my viewers to know, on how long has he been in power?
Since
It's the second
2017.
term.
Since 2017. So that's not really too long. And that's the pattern we see in most of these countries. Right, Ambassador Vora. A final word from Professor. Sir, your take on this.
I think clearly one goes back to the Arab Spring movement, when this whole trend of people coming to the street, blocking streets, sit-ins, and now, of course, increasingly the situations of more destructive mode of protest. I would also not rule out that, yes, I agree with Ambassador Bora. Several other people also from civil society, as I said earlier, join these protests. But yes, they do also create space for the criminals. I'm not saying criminals are leading the protests as of now, or they are the people only responsible. They are the only people responsible for all the death and destruction. But the longer the protests continue, the greater the likelihood that those kind of elements will also join, and sometimes, lead the movement in a slightly different direction. There could be even possibility of some, new singers trying out their luck and, being part of protest and singing and so on, but not in first 48 hours. First 48 hours, it's a explosion of dissatisfaction that young people have had, and they were completely, I think, reinforced in terms of their determination by the police atrocities and the deaths of which are now being called between 19 to 22 people dying. That is a reflection of failure of state to anticipate or to simply maintain, ensure law and order. When you're taking a decision of banning 26 social media platforms at one go, there has to be some preparedness as to how people will respond to that.
Yeah,
Particularly
yeah.
when we know that there's a whole grievances and disaffection growing for last 2 years.
Yeah, so
And this
social
will-
media I see is a double-edged sword. You let it free and you have this, and you don't allow it, and then you have what's happening in Nepal.